The relationship between consciousness and the soul may be complex, but in order to be conscious, it's always better to be awake. And the best way to keep awake is to have a good cup of coffee. Now, the last time I went for a cup of coffee, I noticed this sign.
Dunkin' Donuts, this is Mary. Your call's being recorded.
Yeah, I have a question about your chocolate crullers.
Certainly. What can I help you with?
Yeah, are they non-fat?
No, only on the West Coast.
Could you tell me about your spiced coffees?
We have cinnamon and vanilla. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yeah, I have one more question. Is there a God? God. Now there's a question for you. It's a question that's impossible to escape. I ask it like this. Do you believe there's a God, a supreme being, or a higher intelligence, something out there? So even if you have trouble believing in God, it's a multiple choice question.
Nothing. I do believe we live in a complicated universe that we don't fully understand,
Right.
And that there's very intricate properties of the laws of physics that allow the universe to work the way it does, but I would not personify that organization.
There definitely is a higher entity, something ultimately beautiful.
I believe that there is only one God who controls everything, who did everything in this world.
If I think, he thinks. If I do, he does. Without his power, nothing could be done.
I don't believe there's a God. I'm atheist. But I think there is a power or a figure. I'm not sure whether I should address the figure as God, but I think there is something out there.
Every one of us has some feelings that he cannot understand, that we call them mysterious feelings.
Do I believe there was a God? Yes. Do I believe he's still around? No. You feel peace when you think about God. You feel love when you think about God. When you are in pain, you look for God.
If I will practice as a lawyer, I will always try to take the side which have more chance to win the case. And the chance which will win the case here is the side of those who believe in the existence of God.
Pascal was a French philosopher who believed life is a gamble. He is famous for Pascal's wager. He said that although God's existence cannot be proven by reason, a person should wager that God does exist, because with such a wager, one has everything to gain and nothing to lose.
But this is a belief, and you have to have it with you from childhood.
Well, I think it's hard to believe in God because it's seeing is believing, but you just have to believe what people believe and what you've been taught, so it's just faith.
He's a human being, or he could be an alien. There might be a vehicle called God, a tornado called God. He could be anything.
The nature of Allah is very difficult to know, and it's forbidden for us to ask about this nature. And this is one of the conditions to be a believer.
There's a great God called Olodumare. He's the one who makes the earth and the planets, the sun and things.
The life is so complicated, the whole world is so complicated. You see the universe, it's so complicated. It can't just form by itself, and it's not going to abolish by itself. So something might be controlling everything.
You know, I used to go in my friend's house and he had a black God with dreads. Oh my God, I would be like, what is that? You know, he's like, that's God. I'm like, not in my book, you know, because I believe he's a he though.
You do?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't know, because he's a guy.
So God is not a man or a woman?
No, I don't think so. Only men could invent that, I'm sure.
Is there some supreme power? I know that people believe in it, you know. And when I write about it, For instance, when I'm writing about my grandparents who were believers, both of them, I write about them as believers.
Religion is radically endangered in our time because it cannot catch up. And in not being able to catch up, it runs the risk of trying to create the illusion that we live in the past. And that can only be done with great violence and has to result in the tyranny of terror.
And in the name of God, I think, unfortunately, millions and millions of people have been murdered.
I definitely think religion brings good aspects, as long as it is not abused.
When all these disclosures were made in the church about pedophile priests and the hierarchy who suppressed it and enabled it and perpetuated it, it just made me stop and examine every aspect of my life.